What's up, guys? It's your boy obbldude. Today, I'm gonna be doing a 50, maybe 100 ped mining run, depending on what happens. But today I wanted to talk about why I play Entropia. I kind of wanted to go over it and kind of like talk a little more about it and kind of drop some probes while we do that. So let's get into this. So to start off, why I play Entropia, and I would say this is probably one of my biggest reasons for playing, and that would have to do with the community. As far as the Entropia community goes, it's one of the best communities I've ever come across when playing games and stuff. Um, Mainly, it's just with the community and everything. Everyone's willing to help out. If you have any questions, a lot of times you'll get your questions answered. Um, Also, coming together, doing events, doing hunts, things like that. So overall, the community itself, is just really, really amazing just because when it comes to needing help or, trying to get a hunt going and things like that, people are willing to kind of work together more, I would say, and sometimes some other games. And another reason that I play Entropia is because of the challenge. Now, Entropia is one of the hardest games that you can play. Just because lack of information, it kind of takes a while to figure out how the game works and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And then once you kind of reach that point, the overall challenge kind of makes it, in a way, um, more entertaining just because it takes a lot to skill up, takes a lot longer to get money back and things like that. And a lot of times too, you'll hit a bunch of lists, kind of like I am. Um, so it kind of forces you to kind of grind it out more, which can be harder. Um, but the challenge itself, it's kind of one main thing that I kind of strive for, just because once you kind of rise above those challenges, um, you just become that much better of a player overall. Another thing is the idea of cycling ped. Now, one thing that kind of keeps me going, even and especially with like hunting and stuff, is the cycling of ped. So when you're cycling ped, the idea is over the short term, you're gonna lose a little bit more, but then over the long term of cycling, typically you should get back more the longer you cycle, which is kind of the opposite of a casino, where in a casino you're kind of more likely to realize profits or some kind of gains um, near the beginning, and then the longer you go, the um, the more chances of you losing are. But in this, it's kind of the opposite. The more you cycle, the better chances you are of getting that 95% back. So cycling peg kind of just, as far as cycling and even kind of the challenge too goes, the way I see it, the more you can cycle through, and obviously as long as you're playing right and things like that, um, it kind of allows you to, in the long term, get back more than you would of in the short term. And because of that cycling um, method, that's kind of what keeps me on the grind because I'm like, okay, I might have lost a little bit here, but the more I cycle, the higher chances are that I can get it back. So theoretically, the longer that I play and the longer that I do this, um, the better off I should be. And I think that's kind of a little bit different than a lot of games out there, and especially for when it comes to like casino games, that's also different. So I think that's also another thing that I like about the game, just because it kind of shows that over the long term, the chances of you winning are a lot better than playing in the short term. And that kind of leads me into the variety of gameplay. But as far as like um, but as far as mining goes, I feel like that's kind of unique to this game. I haven't really seen a game or too many games where you can like mine and things like that. Um, so I would say as far as like the choice of gameplay, it's not vast, but it is there between hunting, mining, crafting, and then kind of your like secondary skills, not the main professions, but like then you have like the coloring, the tailoring, and some other things like that. But I do like that the way the gameplay is, like as far as hunting mobs or mining, and even the way crafting works, it is a little different and a little more unique to some other games. And of course, with the real cash economy too, that kind of adds to the whole thing as well. And I feel like when it comes to goals, objectives, and some other things that you don't see in a lot of games, one thing I would say is one of my biggest objectives is literally just being able to basically get to a level where I can get a decent Hoff, you know? Um, and I feel like that's kind of unique because there's a lot of games where you're not really leveling up to necessarily make more, even though that does come with it. But in most games, a lot of times you're kind of leveling up just to get stronger, being able to take it down harder stuff, in turn, yes, to get better stuff for your character. But at the same time, it can be for PvP, it can be for PvE reasons, it can be for so many different reasons. Um, but in this, I feel like as far as goals go, the goals that you set yourself are kind of unique, but a little limited at the same time. So that's kind of a downside, but it kind of keeps things a little simpler that way. Instead of having like a whole mess of things to worry about. Um, and I like the fact that Entropia has some kind of unique features. The main one that really stands out to me is being able to accumulate and gather skills and then take those skills and then resell them to others and then kind of make money that way and then kind of redo the whole process of that. Um, there's really no games that I know of that allow you to kind of either buy skills or sell them or push them to others. Um, so I feel like that's pretty unique, and that's one thing that I think is pretty cool about Entropia that you can kind of grind and then you can get a return on that grind by just removing the skills and then selling it to someone that actually needs it. And then obviously, probably one of my biggest reasons why I play Entropia Universe is of course the real cash economy. Now, when it comes to the real cash economy, that kind of what sends all of us into the game. That's kind of where the interest always starts. Because let's be honest, and I'm just going to be legit, if this wasn't a real cash economy, this would be one of the hardest games to play consistently, not because of skill gap or lack of information, but mainly because why would you play it otherwise? And that's kind of the truth. Um, but yeah, the aspect that it's a real cash economy, that's like the biggest thing for me because it kind of just allows me to play around with economics, which I think is pretty fun. And I do also like when it comes to Entropia Universe that sometimes you have to use real strategies to try to minimize losses. Your basic keep your costs low, try to get back as much as you can, and go for good markup stuff that way. You can offset your losses through the markup. And that's almost kind of basic economics 101, just in real life as well. Oh wow, someone already killed the Sand King. We need more of that. If more of that happens, those shares will be really good. But anyway, that's on a side note. But but I do like that you can take kind of basic real life economic strategies and somewhat apply it to this game. Now, you're still kind of limited when it comes to that, but if you follow that basic economic structure of keeping costs low and then trying to get the best premium when you sell, that is the overall idea of this game as well. And I kind of like that it kind of takes and translates from real life like that. And another reason why I play Entropia and why I like the game is that in a lot of ways, this game is kind of mostly an AFK kind of game. Now, when it comes to mining, not really, because you gotta run around, and even hunting, not really. Um, but as far as like crafting goes, 100% AFK. Obviously, sweating is another AFK activity. There are a good amount of AFK activities, and even still with mining and hunting, I mean, compared to what you're doing when you're hunting and mining, it is still kind of AFK, but I kind of like it because it's kind of more chill. Um, you can kind of think of it like, well, how can you chill or, not really care when you're dealing with a real cash economy? And my answer to that is just I've kept my costs mad low, and I've put in such a little amount over such a long period of time that it really doesn't matter to me what happens because it's not going to affect me anyway because the last time I put anything into this was a decent amount of time. I can't remember how long, but oh yeah, actually it was somewhat recently because I replaced my 800 ped that I lost during the mining run, but that was about it. Um, so I might be a little higher than I thought I was. Um, but basically I can kind of just come in, be like, all right, we're gonna do this run, see what happens, and kind of just chill, not really worry about it too much. Versus other games where you really want to try to progress as much as you can. And because this is such a low progression, there's really no rush to progress because you're not going to progress fast anyway. It's not like WoW where it's like, okay, I got to try to grind like 5 levels today at least. And then, a bunch of other things. So at least in that aspect, you can kind of chill out a little bit. Which I kind of like. Now, one thing that I really like about this game that is unique to a lot of games, now I'm not saying this is the only game that does this, but I feel like there are not a whole lot of games that do this. And I do like that you have the opportunity for in-game land ownership. So basically, in this game, you can buy land, people can hunt, mine on it, you charge a tax, and you can make money that way. And I feel like, as far as Entropia goes, that's pretty unique. At least the combination of all of the hunting and the owning of the land and the taxes and all that. There are games where you can own land and stuff, but I feel like they're kind of far and few in between, and it's not super common. And I feel like Entropia might have been one of the first ones to even do that. Second Life might be there. I'm not quite sure when that came out. Um, but as far as land ownership goes, I think that's pretty cool to be able to have that opportunity. And if you can't have that opportunity, you still have an opportunity to own land, because you can buy shares. And then when you sell shares, you can sell off portions of the land that you own and collect interest from those taxes as well. So even if you can't fully buy a land area, you can still get involved with buying and only owning land through the share system, which I think is pretty unique as well when it comes to a video game. Um, not a lot of games have stuff like that, and they don't really need it. And it would kind of be lazy to do so anyway. But that's also another thing that makes Entropia just really unique and um, gets me more interested than I would maybe some other games. Now, let's get to the obvious one, which I guess we should have gotten to the obvious one at the beginning. But I do like um, that you can collect things in this game. You can build a collection of items, and that collection is actually worth real money. I remember collecting different things in both RuneScape and WoW. Um, and that was something I really enjoyed doing. And in this game, I think that's pretty cool as well, especially since everything is worth real money. So if you're collecting things and your collection in game is actually worth real money, that kind of gives you more motivation and incentivization to maybe start collecting some more stuff. Maybe some ships, maybe some cars, weapons, shoot, maybe even finders. I don't know. Um, but I think it's kind of cool that like you can kind of collect things and amass a certain collection and then be like, okay, I'm gonna sell it off, and then you get a real return from it and a return that you can use in game and or outside the game depending on how much that's worth. And another thing, this kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with owning your own land, but I do also think it's cool that you can own your own store as well. So when you own your own store, it's kind of like owning your own land in a way, but you're not getting taxes, you're not really getting the main gameplay benefits. You're basically just owning a store, taking your items and selling it in the store for less fees, bypassing auction, and you can kind of sell it maybe at a little bit of a better price, and people might rather buy it from you there. And I think that's pretty cool because a lot of games don't have player-driven stores. I know Second Life has like a bunch, um, but I feel like there's not a whole bunch of games that allow you to have an in-game store to then sell your stuff and kind of make some extra cash that way. So I think it's kind of cool that it also allows you to open up a store if that's what you want to do. And I think this might be probably right here my number one reason why I play Entropia. And I have mentioned this before, but I mainly play Entropia because it allows me to simulate an economy using real money at a 10 to 1 rate of leverage. That way, my dollar kind of goes further in that simulation. I've said multiple times, I think of this as economic simulator. So if you want to play around with economics and just kind of have some fun with the idea of it, that's where this game really shines, I feel like. Like if you want to straight out nerd out on financials and economics and have a simulation to do that, I think Entropia is one of the best ways to go about that because if you can make money in this game, if you can pull off having some success in this game, I mean, I don't think there's anything you can't do in the in the real world as far as economics go. It's just like a simulator for that. I feel like that's really cool, and that's like what ultimately made me want to download it in the first place, like over 5 years ago. Um, just because I was like, hey, this might help me with my studies of the financial markets, which it has and it hasn't. I've found that I end up applying more, trying to apply more real life uh, economics to this versus pulling out real life economics from it, if that makes sense. Um, but as far as the real world economics go at a 10 to 1 leverage, I think that's like one of my favorite things. Because I mean, I think technically they could have made it 1 to 1 if they wanted to. And if they wanted money to go a lot further, they could have done 100 to 1. But I think there would have been issues with that too. So I think 10 to 1 is actually kind of a perfect rate. And I think it does work. And the final thing I will say that I enjoy about Entropia, which I haven't been able to say this in a while because I feel like Mindhark hasn't really been doing this for a while, even though I've been saying they should have been doing this for a while. Um, but there's a lot of positive changes coming to Entropia right now. I mean, between adding more mobs, switching mobs out with other mobs, trying to make land areas better, um, trying to make the share system better and kind of understand that more. And it seems like when it comes to Entropia, Mind Arc is finally kind of going in a direction that I feel like they should have been going the entire time. Oh, dang. Yeah. Someone already mined all this out, so no wonder we haven't been doing too well today. Um, he's probably mined most of this out now. Um, but I do see a lot of positive changes happening in Entropia right now. Um, just, and even the loot seems to be getting a little bit better. And I feel like the share system is just a great way to help players offset their losses and make passive gains when they're not in game. And I think the way that they're handling that now is getting better. Um, at first it was kind of rocky, but now I feel like they're starting to get it. And land areas are changing, mobs are changing. It seems like a whole bunch of stuff is changing. We got the new tokens that came out, the Twen, and those seem to be doing pretty well. Um, so all this stuff that they've been kind of pushing out lately, I feel like it's a good move in the right direction. Um, there's been a lot of times over the past years where it seemed like Mind Arc was going backwards and in the wrong direction, and everyone could kind of see it. But now I think Mind Arc is finally starting to kind of buckle down, and I feel like we're starting to finally see those positive changes. And with that being said, I'm going to end the run there on like 3 or 4 drops missed in a row just because I know I'm not going to find anything because that guy was mining this out. So chances are there's probably nothing here. I do want to come back here because I know this place can have some bangers. It's just it's kind of hard coming here when there's no one here because I think there's usually always someone here. So yeah, that's why I play Entropia. Those are just most of my main core reasons why I play the game, why I enjoy the game. Um, let us just take a look and see what we got out of this run here. So, um, we had about 100 pedant probes. We got 57 left. That means we spent 43 in probes. So we spent 43 pedant probes. I have a feeling this was a bad one. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So we're only down as far as TT value goes about 3 ped. Decay on equipment, maybe another ped or two. Decay on this, especially with like a 40 to 50 ped run, really doesn't decay a whole lot. So probably overall a 5 or 6 ped loss overall. Yeah, see, he's mining away. He's finding them all on me. But yeah, guys, those are the reasons why I play Entropia Universe. We didn't do too bad on this mining run. I definitely want to come back here and keep mining here because I think there's some good things to be had, and I do want to check out a couple more land areas as far as mining goes. So anyway, guys, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.